Too many people. Get out.
Grey's Anatomy has captivated audiences with heartbreak, high-stakes surgeries, and unforgettable characters. But with over 400 episodes, where should new fans even begin? Critics and longtime viewers agree there are 5 essential episodes everyone should watch at least once. It starts with the iconic pilot, A Hard Day's Night, where Meredith Grey and her fellow interns first step into Seattle Grace. Then comes the explosive two-parter, It's the End of the World / As We Know It, featuring the infamous bomb in the body cavity storyline. Another standout is the chilling hospital shooting finale in Season 6, Sanctuary / Death and All His Friends, often ranked among the best dramatic TV episodes ever. Fans also highlight Christina Yang's emotional farewell in Season 10's Fear of the Unknown. And finally, the show's 300th episode, Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story, a heartfelt tribute to its legacy. Meanwhile, Season 22 buzz is heating up. A new teaser for the October 9th premiere continues the shocking Season 21 explosion cliffhanger. Fans are speculating about who survives, with much attention on Link. While some worry he's in danger, many believe his story with Joe makes him safe, though Amelia's emotional reaction hints that Lucas may be the one at risk. Behind the scenes, Shonda Rhimes revealed in a new documentary how she fought to ensure Grey's Anatomy wasn't an all-white show, reshaping TV casting forever. And with the 450th episode approaching, speculation is rising that Sandra Oh could return as Christina Yang for one final reunion. Hey lovely viewers, welcome to our channel Grey's Anatomy Official. 5 essential episodes of Grey's Anatomy everyone should watch at least once. I know that for literal decades now, Grey's Anatomy has been sort of a punchline among avid TV watchers, and I'm the first to admit that the show isn't perfect. Especially in the later seasons, every character becomes a walking exposition dump. At one point, a female doctor yells about how she understands a patient's botched Brazilian butt lift because it's so hard for women to exist in society, and I wish that was a joke. But in the show's early seasons, showrunner and writer Shonda Rhimes was really cooking with gas. Throughout the series, we follow Dr. Meredith Grey, Ellen Pompeo, who begins the show as a lowly surgical intern, albeit with a pedigree, as her mother, Dr. Ellis Grey, Kate Burton, was a pioneering general surgeon in her own right, as Meredith learns, loves, and loses a farcical amount of loved ones, including fellow doctors, at a Seattle hospital. So if you're intimidated by the sheer number of seasons contained within Grey's Anatomy, where should you start? I'll be the first to tell you to just watch the damn show and then stop around Season 14. Things get murky after that and never truly recover after the dreadful 17th season, which puts Meredith in a coma thanks to a severe case of COVID-19. But if you're really desperate, there are 5 episodes you absolutely have to watch to understand why Grey's Anatomy drew in so many viewers and what does make it great. A bit of housekeeping, though. 2 entries on this list are 2-part episodes, which, for any younger readers, used to be a big thing on network TV. These stories are 2 halves of a whole, so it was necessary to include both episodes, especially because one of them might be the all-time best installment of Grey's Anatomy to ever air. So with that said, here are 5 Grey's Anatomy episodes essential for any new or returning fan. A Hard Day's Night pilot. I've heard that starting at the very beginning is a very good place to start, and this is definitely true of Grey's Anatomy, which actually has a really great pilot. Soundtracked by songs like Portions for Foxes by Rilo Kiley and Somewhere Only We Know by Keane, the episode opens on Meredith's first day of work as a surgical intern at Seattle Grace Hospital, but there's one big problem. There's a naked guy asleep on her living room floor. After hastily kicking him out, Meredith arrives at work and meets her fellow intern class, Dr. George O'Malley, T.R. Knight, Dr. Isabel Izzy Stevens, Katherine Heigl, Dr. Alex Karev, Justin Chambers, and her future best friend Dr. Christina Yang, Sandra Oh, only to discover that the naked guy from her living room floor is Dr. Derek Shepard, Patrick Dempsey, the hospital's new chief of neurosurgery. Naturally, Meredith ends up working on Derek's service when a young woman named Katie Bryce, Skylar Shea, a rhythmic gymnastics champion, arrives via helicopter while experiencing life-threatening seizures which have no clear cause. As Meredith and Christina vie for the chance to correctly diagnose Katie and scrub in on her presumably groundbreaking surgery, Izzy is stuck performing enemas. Alex establishes himself as sort of a jerk, and George gets chosen to scrub in on an appendectomy with the intimidating chief of cardiothoracic surgery, Dr. Preston Burke, Isaiah Washington. George botches the surgery, earning the nickname 007, License to Kill. We also meet Chief of Surgery Dr. Richard Weber, James Pickens Jr., whose past relationship with Meredith's mother will soon be cause for concern, and the intern's chief resident Dr. Miranda Bailey, Chunder Wilson, who's referred to as the Nazi and tells her interns to memorize 5 rules right off the bat. One is that if you wake her from a nap to tend to a dying patient, said patient better not be dead by the time she gets there, or she will have been woken up for no good reason. Add in the final shot of Meredith visiting her mom Ellis, which reveals that the venerated surgeon is suffering from early-onset Alzheimer's, and you've got a great pilot. It's the end of the world / as we know it, Season 2, Episodes 16 and 17. Okay, yes, this is the bomb in a body cavity episode, but also give it a chance. It's really fun. At the start of the episode, Meredith refuses to go to work, still reeling from the revelation that Derek has a wife, Kate Walsh's eminently fabulous Dr. Addison Montgomery Shepherd, and insisting that she knows she's going to die that day. After Christina talks her out of it, all of the interns get to the hospital and are met by an ambulance containing a man who, it turns out, has unexploded homemade ammunition, specifically a bazooka missile, in his chest. The paramedic whose hand is inside the patient and preventing him from bleeding out, Hannah, guest star Christina Ricci, is rushed to the operating room with Meredith and Burke while the rest of the hospital is put on code black, referring to a bomb. In the midst of all of this, bomb squad leader Dylan Young, guest star Kyle Chandler, shows up and starts antagonizing Meredith, who remains certain that she's going to die. Elsewhere in the hospital, an extremely pregnant Bailey is ready to give birth to her first child, only to discover that her husband Tucker Jones, Cress Williams, got in a car accident rushing to Seattle Grace. While Derek tries to save Tucker's life, Addison tries to convince Bailey to go through with labor, only to find an unlikely ally in George, who gets through to Bailey and helps her through a particularly terrifying childbirth process. Also, Izzy and Alex keep having frantic sex in supply closets, which is its own thing and not really related to anything else. It's the end of the world, and as we know it are, for better and for worse, 2 defining episodes of Grey's Anatomy that make an astounding whole, and whether you think the show is silly or extraordinary, this 2-part episode is a must-watch. Sanctuary / Death and All His Friends, Season 6, Episodes 23 and 24. To fully understand the 1-2 punch of Sanctuary and Death and All His Friends, the double-episode finale of Season 6 of Grey's Anatomy, here's a tiny bit of background. At the beginning of the season, another Seattle hospital, Mercy West, merges with Seattle Grace, bringing some new residents into the mix. The 4 you need to know about now are Dr. Jackson Avery, Jesse Williams, Dr. April Kepner, Sarah Drew, Dr. Charles Percy, Robert Baker, and Dr. Reed Adamson, Nora Zahetner. The other important point here is that, previously in Season 6, a man named Gary Clark, Michael O'Neill, brought his wife into the hospital, only for her to suffer complications during surgery. Per her wishes, Derek, Richard, and Meredith's half-sister Dr. Lexi Gray, Kyler Lee, removed her from life support, leading to a lawsuit waged by Gary. Okay, let's get rolling. At the beginning of the episode, Meredith, who's now married to Derek and experiencing some fertility issues, discovers she's newly pregnant. But before she can tell Derek, the hospital enters a lockdown thanks to Gary. As he arrives at the hospital, he asks Reed to direct him to Derek's office, but is rebuffed. She's busy and tells him she's not a tour guide, but a surgeon, and he shoots her in the head. After then shooting Alex, who stumbles on the crime scene, Gary goes on a spree, fatally wounding Charles and leaving Miranda and her patient Mary Portman, Mandy Moore, to try and save him. April discovers Reed's body and, ultimately, leads Gary directly to Derek. After Gary shoots Derek, Meredith and Christina rush him to the operating room, only to meet Jackson en route and discover that no attendings are available to save Derek's life. Christina, who has a particular talent for cardiothoracic surgery, is left to save Derek, and is thwarted when Gary enters her operating room and demands that she stop surgery and let Derek die. As Meredith begs for Gary to kill her instead and spare Derek, she watches as her husband flatlines on Christina's table, only to realize, when a somewhat mollified Gary leaves the room, that Jackson and Christina had the brilliant idea to unplug Derek's leads and fake his death. Meredith, now experiencing a stress-induced miscarriage, operates on Christina's boyfriend Dr. Owen Hunt, Kevin McKidd, who was shot during the fracas over Derek, and both men are ultimately saved as Gary takes his life with his final bullet. Sanctuary and Death and All His Friends make up the all-time best Grey's Anatomy episode when paired together, and frankly, I'd rank it as one of the best dramatic episodes of TV I've seen, period. Fear of the Unknown, Season 10, Episode 24. Grey's Anatomy is historically weird about writing off major characters. Some, like Alex Karev, vanish into thin air because their actors, in that case, Justin Chambers, simply want to leave the show. Others, like Kyler Lee's Lexi Gray, T.R. Knight's George O'Malley, and Patrick Dempsey's Dr. Derek Shepherd, are brutally killed. Plane crash, bus crash, car crash, in that order. With that in mind, Sandra Oh's Christina Young got really lucky. By the time Season 10 of Grey's Anatomy rolled around, Christina's story seemed like it was reaching a natural conclusion. After losing the Harper Avery Award, an award for surgical innovation that she was widely expected to win after creating a 3D-printed heart conduit for an infant, Christina finds out that because she works at a hospital now owned by the Harper Avery Foundation itself, she can never win the award if she stays there. This entire problem magically resolves itself later on when Meredith wins a Harper Avery, but whatever. We'll get to that momentarily. In the wake of her shocking loss, Christina accepts an invitation to do a presentation about her conduit at a high-end cardiac research hospital in Zurich, only to discover that the doctor who invited her is Preston Burke, her former mentor and fiancé who once left her at the altar. As it turns out, Burke wants to retire and spend more time with his wife and children and simply hand the reins of this massive, groundbreaking, and unbelievably well-funded research hospital to Christina, the only one he trusts to continue his game-changing work. Christina actually accepts this offer in the penultimate episode of Season 10, and in the finale, Fear of the Unknown, she leaves Seattle for Switzerland. Throughout a touching episode that begins with a fake-out, Christina heads to the mall to buy a phone charger, and then there's an explosion at said mall. Christina bids farewell to everyone she loves and even brings her star-in-turn Dr. Shane Ross Gaius Charles with her. It's her last moments with Meredith, though, that make this episode a must-watch. After they dance it out one last time, Christina reminds Meredith to not let Derek's professional dreams eclipse her own. He's not the son, Christina tells her best friend. You are. It's a fitting farewell for such a vital character, and truly, the show is never really the same without Christina's presence. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story? Season 14, Episode 7. I'm not saying Grey's Anatomy was perfect by the time it got to its 14th season, but I am saying that, in its best moments, the show still had the juice, which it proved in its 300th episode, Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story. Creator Shonda Rhimes is a famously huge fan of Hamilton. As Meredith and Jackson prepare to fly to Boston for the Harper Avery Award ceremony, where Meredith is the frontrunner to receive the award thanks to her recent abdominal wall transplant, she notices something strange. When patients arrive at the hospital after a roller coaster derailment at a local fair, Meredith and Alex are unsettled by the fact that the two people stuck in the rail car, Cleo Kim and Gregory Williams, Jackie Chun and Brandon Tyler Russell, look and act almost exactly like Christina Young and George O'Malley, both of whom are long gone at this point. This only gets weirder when their friend Liza Simmons, Erin Ray, who's pregnant and looks and acts like Izzy Stevens, shows up to reveal that all three of them are second-year residents at Seattle Presbyterian. Despite pleas from Jackson, his mother Catherine Avery, Debbie Allen, and all of her colleagues, Meredith stays in Seattle and skips the Harper Avery ceremony to help Gregory, whose neck needs to be held in traction, and Cleo, who is rushed into surgery when it's discovered that she has a massive puncture wound in her stomach. As her successful operation on Cleo concludes, Meredith, still in the operating room, and wearing Derek's signature scrub cap, which is adorned with ferry boats, finds out via a live telecast run by Jackson and Catherine that she won the award. Again, it's really not clear how the Harper Avery's ownership of what's now named Gray Sloan Memorial Hospital affects Meredith's win, but whatever. Standing in the oar, Meredith looks up at her half-sister Dr. Maggie Pierce, Kelly McCreary, who happens to be the secret daughter of Meredith's late mother Ellis, and her own daughter Zola Gray Shepherd, Anila Gums, and sees a vision of Ellis, probably clapping for her daughter. I actually can't imagine a better hour for the 300th episode of Grey's Anatomy than Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story. Grey's Anatomy Season 22 teaser convinces fans Link will survive another day, another hint as to whether or not Grey's Anatomy is about to break some fans' hearts when it returns for the Season 22 premiere. For those who have been holding out hope that everyone might survive the finale explosion unscathed, well, this latest sneak peek doesn't exactly spell a happy ending, but some fans are still taking it to mean that the show will be merciful to one fan favorite. In a newly shared teaser for the upcoming October 9th episode, several characters can be seen reacting to the blast that closed out Season 21. Ben Warren, Jason George, fights his way into the hospital in hopes of finding Miranda Bailey, Chandra Wilson, but is shoved back by a firefighter. Joe Wilson, Camilla Luddington, notes that Atticus Link Lincoln, Chris Carmack, isn't answering his phone, and Catherine Fox, Debbie Allen, asks whether there are any fatalities. Meanwhile, Amelia Shepherd, Katerina Scorsone, is shown distraught and crying while Meredith Grey, Ellen Pompeo, looks devastated as well. Several fans who reacted to the post on the show's Reddit fan page took the few seconds of footage to mean that Link is going to walk away from this. I still think Link will be a misdirect. Call me naive, but I just don't think they'd do that to Joe honestly. They might give him an injury or something, but I think he'll mostly be fine. The Amelia pictures/clips we've seen show her in big emotions though, so I am not too sure about Lucas, one fan wrote. I agree. I think they want us to think Link is dying, but he won't. He could be injured, but I don't think he'll die. I'm much more focused on Amelia's reaction, which I agree leans more towards Lucas potentially being seriously injured. But I also don't see them killing him because we've had previous teasers about the new love triangle thing that they set up as continuing, so my guess is nobody is gonna die again. They're gonna make us sweat it, but they haven't seriously killed anyone off since DeLuca, and people were so pissed about that one, I'm not sure if they're gonna go that way again, wrote another. Another fan agreed that the previews focus on Amelia's reaction, rather than Joe's, may be a sign that Link isn't the one in trouble. It does make sense to still have Lucas around with the introduction of that love triangle. You would also think that if Link will be dying, they'd focus on Joe's reactions more, but it's mostly Amelia focused so far, so that is weird. You could be right that everyone will survive yet again. As the commenters noted, Grey's Anatomy hasn't taken out a series regular since the COVID-themed season 17, when Andrew DeLuca, Giacomo Gianniotti died. As a result, there have been some fan questions about whether it's overdue for the inertia of the show. I think they're gonna kill off one of the big guns like Weber or Warren. It's been a while since the show killed off a main, one fan wrote. Shonda Rhimes recalls telling ABC president that Grey's Anatomy couldn't be an all-white show if not for Shonda Rhimes' casting room intervention. Grey's Anatomy would have looked very different, specifically much whiter. The Grey's creator says she had to insist that her ABC medical drama cast actors of color in a conversation with the network's president at the time. In the new HBO documentary Seen and Heard, The History of Black Television, Rhimes shares how she did something people didn't do, in that she chose not to write any character's race into the Grey's pilot script. So she was dismayed when she was presented only with white actors to cast. I kept saying, like, where are all the actors? They would keep sending us these actors who all look the same, who are white, she says. I remember standing up in the room and turning around and looking at the president of the network at the time and saying, I'm not going to have an all-white show. According to Rhimes, everyone in the room was really startled and denied that that was the intention. And so casting director Linda Lowy went out to the agents and said, listen, we want to see everybody. And this flood of actors started to come in. And it was really wonderful. We got to see all these actors who had never been considered for roles other than, like, in very small parts before. She added, I just knew that I was not going to make a show that I would have been embarrassed to put on TV, she said. I wasn't going to make a show for which I would have to turn to my parents and go, yeah, it has an all-white cast, but that's how TV's made. Like, how was I going to say that to my dad? Rhimes has been candid about tensions with former ABC president Stephen McPherson and other network brass during the early days of Grey's. After a disagreement over a scene in the show's second episode, ABC execs confronted Rhimes in the editing room and demanded changes, as she told The Hollywood Reporter in 2014. Grey's Anatomy. Sandra Oh talks possible Christina return. I remember sitting there thinking to myself, How much change can I make so that I still feel like I'm doing my show, but also gets them the hell out of my editing room and ensures this never happens again, she said. Then came an argument with McPherson around the time rhymes turned in the fourth or fifth episode. He said really horrible things to me, she said. I literally started keeping a list of how many times he said a certain swear word to me. After that, I was like, okay, we're dead. Grey's Anatomy Season 22 has the perfect episode to bring back Christina Young. As one of the longest-running medical dramas on TV, Grey's Anatomy has broken ground in dozens of ways, including bringing past cast members back to the series, with another chance to do so this season. Grey's Anatomy Season 22 is rapidly approaching, and while the series has had milestones in the past, this season's is the perfect moment to bring a veteran back to the show. After years of seeing past Grey's Anatomy cast members return to the show, which even the titular Meredith Grey, Ellen Pompeo, has left, viewers are prepared for some familiar faces to come back during the monumental 450th episode. Moving into Season 22, Grey's Anatomy's second episode of the season will mark the halfway point to 500, and there's a chance viewers will see surprising characters. Known for major stars returning during milestone episodes, Grey's Anatomy has always been ready with a natural disaster, massive accident, or hospital-wide tragedy during its biggest episodes. While there may be high stakes for the show upon its return, it's also possible that Grey's could bank on a big return for its next milestone, keeping things exciting for longtime viewers. Grey's Anatomy Season 22's Perfect Young comeback episode is its 450th outing. The milestone could usher Young back to her roots, with Grey's Anatomy's 450th episode coming quickly after its season premiere. The series could be looking to make a big impact with longtime viewers by bringing Christina Young, Sandra Oh, back to her roots. While Young left the series after Grey's Anatomy Season 10, it's been speculated many times that her return could be coming soon, even for just an episode. Christina and Meredith's relationship was one of the most important of the series, and though their friendship has been referenced several times throughout the last 10-plus seasons of the show, they haven't shared the screen in over a decade. With Grey's Anatomy's 450th episode coming up, it could be the perfect time for Christina to return and reunite with Meredith. With fan favorites having made surprise appearances in the past, including a posthumous Derek Shepherd, Patrick Dempsey, and Addison Montgomery, Kate Walsh. After years off the show, Grey's Anatomy often has sway with its previous cast members. The 450th episode may be one of the rare opportunities, if not the final on-screen opportunities, for Young to return to Grey's Anatomy. Although Oh has been vocal about feeling like her time on Grey's Anatomy is very much over, it's possible that making a guest appearance wouldn't be out of the question for the actress. With Young being a beloved character, it seems probable that Oh would return for a short appearance if the story worked for her both creatively and logistically. Why Grey's Anatomy Season 22's milestone episode might be the last chance to give Young a special comeback. The series could be coming to a close, although Grey's Anatomy hasn't announced any plans of ending soon. The series has been on for over 20 years. Grey's has become less of a success due to its storytelling and more of a spectacle due to its length of time spent on the air. An institution, the show is still telling stories and bringing an interesting perspective to the screen, but it's not innovative anymore. Grey's Anatomy Season 22 hitting a major milestone is a huge deal, but it's likely that it may be one of its final milestones as it moves toward the end of its life on the air. Grey's could last until 500 episodes, but it seems more likely that the show will come to a close before it ever does so. With that in mind, the Grey's Anatomy Season 22 milestone may be the final time that Christina would be able to return to the show outside of its series finale, which will surely see familiar faces. While Oh has been upfront about feeling like Grey's is behind her, knowing that this could be her last chance may change things for the actress. How Young can return in Grey's Anatomy Season 22. Things may not be as simple as a guest spot, while bringing Oh back to the series may be a difficult ask. It's possible to do it in a variety of ways that may not impact her schedule as much as an episode-long arc. Christina could easily come back to the series in a different capacity, sharing emotional moments with Meredith and other long-standing cast members without a full-blown cameo. If Oh's schedule isn't working with filming an entire episode, it may be possible to bring her back to the 450th episode in a more pandemic-like capacity, filming her scenes elsewhere and using a phone call or FaceTime method to bring her back to the series. Young could also appear in a flashback sequence of some sort, using footage of the character that already exists. While it would be best to see Christina return to Grey's Anatomy in the flesh, having her back in some capacity would be an exciting turn for the series. After years of viewers hoping that they'll see Young back on screen again in the future, Grey's Anatomy could finally deliver on bringing back one of its most beloved, most sought-after characters. Enjoy Screen Rant's primetime coverage? Click below to sign up for our weekly Network TV newsletter. Make sure to check Network TV in your preferences and get the inside scoop from actors and showrunners on your favorite series. Jesse Williams on returning to TV post Grey's Anatomy with Hotel Costiera and learning Italian for the role. It was a labor of love. After 12 seasons playing Drive Jackson Avery on Grey's Anatomy, Jesse Williams is ready to play a lead in a totally different realm, the international TV space. In new Prime Video Italy original Hotel Costiera, Williams, who left Grey's in 2021 but had guest roles on almost every season since then, plays an Italian-American former Marine named Daniel De Luca, who is a problem solver in one of the most exclusive hotels in the world in Positano on Italy's iconic Amalfi Coast. He is a guest of the hotel owner because DD, as everyone knows him, is the only person who caught a glimpse of the man who may have kidnapped the owner's daughter. Therefore, he's the only person who may be able to hunt the kidnapper down. Aside from that storyline, DD basically solves a case in each episode. Alongside Williams, Hotel Costiera, which drops on Wednesday in the US, UK, Italy, and several other territories, features a rich ensemble cast comprising Maria Chiara Giannetta, Jordan Alexandra, Antonio Girardi, Sam Haygarth, Tommaso Regno, Amanda Campana, Pierpaolo Spallin, Alejandra Oniva, and Jean Hughes Anglade. The 6-episode show is co-produced by Amazon MGM Studios and Luca Bernabai for LuxFeed, the Fremantle-owned Italian company behind global shows such as Medici and financial thriller Devils. Below, Williams speaks to Variety about how he became deeply involved in Hotel Costiera, on which he also serves as a hands-on executive producer. What drew you to this project? It came to me as an early idea, kind of fleshed out in Italian and then translated into English. It was this core concept created by producer Luca Bernabai, with Adam Bernstein making it. So I read the material and met with Adam. I just really loved the show's world. I think I really gravitated towards this guy who had fully committed himself to something in the military and finds himself having to start over. He's also a character who's from two worlds. I think there was a relatability factor there as somebody who's American but biracial in a polarized country, and authentically of two worlds. Tell me more. All those factors originally attracted me to just kind of want to play with it. And I had been, at the time, wanting to think more about global creativity, thinking outside the borders of the US. I always found that interesting. I went to film school, and that's the lens through which I see the world. You watch Fellini and you're learning about other places like also Korea and Japan through their cinema. Americans aren't always known for their ability to open up and process and absorb other cultures. What drew you to the show's global aspect? After I'd left the show Grey's Anatomy, I was on for so long, I was just trying to do a lot of things I had never done. I went straight to Broadway and doing some indie film, just kind of doing everything I hadn't done. And in this way, I was like, what if I get out of the country and go make something somewhere else? I got a big global footprint because of Grey's. It's a monster show, so I've got some juice in other places. I'd always loved to travel and love to be reminded that there is a whole big world out there. And I think that American audiences are coming to that realization again. I think that cycling back around, we see an appetite to watch shows with a little bit of subtitles, different languages, different cultures. We've seen things really pop like Money Heist and Squid Game, and I think that's encouraging. Anything that kind of brings us together, I think is encouraging. Hotel Costiera is interesting because you play a guy who is rooted in two countries. Did you contribute to developing that aspect? Yes, I was certainly involved in character development. One of the things I wanted to explore with this character is that he's half Black Italian and half American. That's a different experience. What are little ways that we can nod to that? That we can acknowledge and include that, without it becoming a lesson? And we have little pieces of that backstory, kind of peppered in. We had really cool help from consulting producer Trey Ellis, a writer who's a Black American who lived in Italy forever. Tell me more about Daniel. He has this Neapolitan street kid aspect, known in local slang as scugnizzo. Daniel is somebody who grew up as a street kid in Naples with a character in the show named Bigny, who was one of his old running buddies. And that's where lots of his street savvy comes from. His comfort with folks who might be deemed undesirable. That's his edge. He doesn't come from high society Naples or Rome, or even Amalfi. I think that has proven to be an important detail. Because now he finds himself working in this hotel with all these wealthy, privileged people. So he does all that with a bit of a smirk. He was raised kind of running around the streets, not with a nuclear family, not with a solid family unit. That kind of fracture probably also sets him up for diving into the military, creating a family. So he keeps finding himself in supportive systems, like the hotel, that will kind of hold him, or at least give him mission, give him purpose. What was it like acting in Italian? Your accent is pretty good. Did you work with a voice coach? That was tough for me. Some people take to languages very easily. I admit that I don't. So I just studied. I had a really great set of coaches. I did a little bit of work before I left the US to start prep and had somebody on set at all times. It was a combination of, I'm being honest, learning syntax and learning some basic rules around the language. So it was a labor of love. It was really fun to do when I nailed it. And I had a lot of teachers because our entire production crew is Italian. You are the only American actor on the show. What was it like working with an international cast? The casting process was really fun. I was very involved in all the casting of every single member. So you're watching these great tapes from people all over the world, and several of them auditioned for different roles than they ended up playing. Luckily, we got the best in every category, and comedically it made for a really cool kind of melange of styles. I really love British comedy, from Monty Python to Ricky Gervais to everything in between. And Sam Haygarth and Jordan Alexandra are both really funny and biting and creative in their comedic style. That jammed up with Antonio Girardi, who plays Bigny, who has a very different kind of masculine wit. It was a really cool harmony of characters, and I was consistently very pleasantly surprised on set at how they brought things to life. Thanks for watching this videos. Please hit the subscribe button and give this